there's the hospital, what's left of it. A few wings, but they're going to close the accident and emergency and make everybody who has an accident or has an emergency in Hemel Hempstead go off to Watford or St Albans, which apparently is going to cost a lot of lives. They're building up Hemel Hempstead from an 80,000 people town to at least a 100,000 people town, the largest in Hertfordshire, with the current plans of building into the green belt, but they're taking away the accident and emergency. So there's going to be a big protest in the Marlows, or in Marlows down here, on Sunday. And you've got the local MP saying, you know, people power works, we'll only have ourselves to blame if we lay down and take it. I only have one thing to say to that, and that is that lay is a transitive verb. Lie is the equivalent intransitive verb, and I'm not sure that I really want people representing me who don't know the basic principles of language, but other than that I agree with him. This is a mural which features on somebody else's YouTube video, and he takes a mickey out of it a little bit. It's very, very, well, 1950s, 60s, that sort of thing. Not all that pleasant, but it's alright, better than nothing. Yeah. NCP car park's lost its N above it, which is a little bit scrappy. There's a lot of things that can be done to tidy this place up. There's the market over there, the covered market. It wasn't always covered, the covering's been put on fairly recently. See that the the two-way roundabout in Hemel Hempstead has got all 6 of its mini roundabouts back now that this riverside development's finished, with the Debenhams and everything there. There's a little mini roundabout taking you off to the car parks. There's the one that goes to Leighton Buzzard Road, the one that goes down to Boxmoor, over there the one that goes to the station more. There's the Lawn Lane, the one that goes to Apsley rather than the one that goes to the station. That is the Boxmoor one, the one that goes to Apsley, the one that goes to Lawn Lane, and the one that goes up to St Adeyfield and St Albans, all 6, making it one of the most complicated junctions, nicely planted in the middle. When this was first added to Hemel Hempstead back in the 1970s, there was queuing right the way back to Berkhamsted for the first week or so, and then people got used to the fact that what it is 6 usual roundabouts just placed in a configuration. Nothing more to it than that. Once they realised that it wasn't just one big roundabout, that you could go both ways round, then they could finally understand it. As you can see, there's still a lot of building going on around here, plenty of stuff happening. Got cycle paths too. That's already quite an older block of flats, I remember from way back. And so here we are. It's probably one of the few roundabouts in the country with a river flowing through the middle of it, at least a little bit. The River Gate actually gets channeled through the middle of the roundabout there, which effectively means that there are 2 bridges over it there, and on the other side, but the gate just carries on through the centre of it, which is quite pleasant, but nobody sees it, which is good, I think, for nature, because nobody really gets to disturb the fish breeding away in the middle bit there, and the frogs, whereas they can disturb them in a lot of parts of this. From my childhood memories, I know that the Gade was always quite full of life, sticklebacks, minnows. I think I mentioned on a previous video in the Hemel Hempstead series that the first time I put my net in the Gade, out came a stickleback in the net, and I think I've had a love of fish ever since then. It's November the 12th. Most people haven't yet decided that it's time to start decorating their houses here in King's Langley near Hemel Hempstead. One slight difference is this gentleman here, or lady, I'm not sure, who's made a complete Christmas tree, if you like, out of their house. Many snowmen and Santa Claus, unfortunately, mottos, and a kind of star up there. Merry Christmas, all, you know, and it's a little bit exaggerated in my opinion. I'm glad I don't have to live near to that person and put up with their kitsch for probably, you know, 2 months of the year. You know, especially when you consider how pagan it's all become, how commercial, how little to do with the child in the manger it's actually become. Nothing to do with the birth of Jesus Christ really, but figures such as Santa Claus and snowmen and other beings whose message has little to do with the Christian gospel. Along comes Santa Claus and asks the children, "Have you been good?" And the children say, "Yes, we have been good." And the Santa Claus says, "Yes, because you think you are good, I will give you a reward." Whereas Jesus Christ said, "I came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." So Jesus Christ knows you haven't been good, that his reward is for those who believe on him. He's the way, the truth and the life, not some red character with a beard. Okay, so think about that. Well, this is the point I go over the canal, and you've seen this, me coming off here on an earlier film in this series. I've gone down that canal, not this side, because there's not a bit of that. Yeah, this side. It's all muddy now, which is why I didn't choose to come down the towpath today. But you probably recognise some of these scenes from earlier films in the series, and so I didn't choose to come down because of the mud today. It's been a bit rainy recently, but I decided to come down the main road one way to King's Langley and go back through the other main road. I'm assuming that I can get out onto the main part of King's Langley this way. Exactly how to do that I'm not quite sure. I didn't bring the satellite navigator with me, but it's alright. I'll find some way of doing it. And the church that we're about to come up to here has what's called a Hertfordshire spike, which is like a little spike up in the middle of a sort of castellated square turret. That's a feature of Hertfordshire architecture, so I'm going to show you the Hertfordshire spike on this church in a moment. Sometimes houses are built with this panelling on to look as though they're the original old thing, but this one does look old because the walls aren't very straight. They're sort of leaning over slightly. That gives it the feel of real authenticity, that it really is an older house, not one of the new ones put up in that style so much. And it's an old-fashioned barber shop with a pole as well, although the pole's only put on paper. There is no real barber's pole. At King's Langley Barbershop open, no appointment necessary, but it ain't going to be as cheap as doing it in Poland, so I think I'll give it a miss, even though I could probably do with a haircut already. Looking back up that way, it's quite pleasant up there, isn't it? So yes, oh look, there are little poles at the front there, little mini ones, but they're not twisting round. But it's nice. This is King's Langley that we're coming into, and it's the only place, or it's the place, if you like, in England where the only Pope that was English, Nicholas Breakspere in the 13th century, he was a Pope during the time when the papacy had to flee to Avignon, and he came from King's Langley. So that's the claim to fame of this place. The only ever English Pope in the history of the papacy was Nicholas Breakspere, and he came from this particular village, which is of course a very ancient provenance. So King's Langley has its posh parts, less posh parts as well, like everything in England now. You couldn't call something that overlooks an industrial estate like that too posh, but still there are other parts of here which are no doubt extremely nice, and it's linked into that historic personage. So the whole region actually around King's Langley, Hemel Hempstead as well, does have buildings, courts, roads named after Breakspere. and also there's a beer based in Henley, which is quite a way away, which is also called what's called Brack's beer, which is almost Brake's beer. Not sure if it's named after the Pope or not, because it seems a bit ironic to name a beer after a Pope, but it's an old English name, like Shakespeare. If you shake your spear, you might break it. So the whole art is to be a good shaker of spears without necessarily breaking them, or you can break the other side spear and just shake your own, as it were. This is Alexandra Road, but it's not the Alexandra Road of Hemel Hempstead, which is one of the reasons why this whole business of borough of decorum is not very helpful, because obviously the Alexandra Road, which is in Hemel Hempstead, is not the same as this one. This is in King's Langley, but what they've done is they've written Parish of King's Langley, Alexandra Road, Borough of Decorum. Instead of saying Hemel Hempstead or King's Langley, they've kind of done everything they can to compromise Hemel Hempstead, and just call it all Decorum. Even here you've got Decorum Borough Council over there, just to avoid calling these other places Hemel Hempstead. Hemel Hempstead is in the Domesday Book. I think I've mentioned it before, just as old as any of these other places, named, as I think I mentioned, after a priest in the 7th century called Hemel. It was his homestead. Oh, look what this is. Seems to be carrying this huge great big thing underneath it. What exactly that is, I don't know what it's carrying, but it's carrying this huge great big object underneath it, like you know, these bees when they get all the honey in on their legs, all the pollen on their legs look all loaded down. That's how that looked. I'm not sure it's going to come out very well on the camera. Anyway, I've called this whole series Hearts Content. It's mainly been about Hertfordshire, not only. Obviously I live in Hertfordshire, and so I did it about Hertfordshire. I did it for things really which are around about Hemel Hempstead. There's some London things in there as well, plenty of London things in there in the end. Even got down as far as the seaside in Bournemouth in one of them. This is the result of no less than 5 visits to England from Poland, where I normally live, this year, which is my record, I think. 5 visits to the UK in a year ever since I left. Although in the meantime I did live here for a while. Other than that, it's pretty much a record to come over 5 times, which is good. This is probably my last visit for the year, so I probably will stop the series with today's film and start a different series with a different theme, different beginning graphics next time I come next year. After all, I can't keep on the same opening graphics, the same opening sequence again and again forever. As nice as it is to listen to Banks of Green Willow, I'd have to think of something new for next year's British films, if there are any, which hopefully there'll be plenty of. A little bit of pyrocanthus there, and Tree of Heaven. So there we have it. There's what I meant to show you is that King's Langley Church with the Hertfordshire spike on the roof. I think you can see it quite clearly from here. It's only the Vado. I didn't bring the Panasonic to avoid extra weight on a walk. Today's walk's going to be about 11 miles. Out to this point from Hemel Hempstead and then back again. This is the furthest that I'm walking away from Hemel Hempstead, if you like. Out on one road, back on the other. So this looks fairly historic as well. Don't know whether it actually is, but it looks it with the mixture of the stones and the bricks like that. Quite pleasant. He's obviously a little bit recalcitrant, if that's the right word. Look at those. Isn't that nice? Oh, that'll be quite a good way of taking it. Actually, it's not good for this camera to take it that way. I'll get up and then I'll take a shot back down on it. Oh dear, people coming the other way now. All Saints Church is the name of it. So what have we got? Most of the notice board isn't used, but there is something. All Saints Church, all underlined, are welcome. We've got said Holy Community with the old prayer book on the first Sunday of the month. And then you've got sung Eucharist, and you've got family services and what have you. You've even got a midweek community. And there's other special services and things that... There's another board outside the church or in the porch. Okay, so maybe there'll be something else. You can see the scenery nicely around here as well. The dip in the landscape with the rise up at the other side. You can see both sides of the valley that formed by the Gade, and the canal also runs through it. This is a nice yew tree with very large yew berries on it. If you see that, don't eat it. It's very poisonous. Taxus. So, as we see, Anglican churches tend to be open. They tend to have their main notice boards inside of these things. We'll see what there is here. There's actually a service going on, so I don't want to interrupt. Somebody's standing there giving a sermon, so I thought I'd leave him to it. That's nice. I didn't actually see that on the notice board that there was something like that going on there, but at least what you can say is you've got an active church, which is nice. More than I saw in Finland, that's for sure. And you've got the bits of graveyard all around the outside. That's very nice. I don't think I've seen that one in flower before. Isn't it mahogany by the look of the leaf? I don't think I've seen it flowering like that. And unexpected given the time of year when most of the leaves are brown. So here we are coming into sort of the village centre, if you like. I don't want to say town centre because it's only a village. You've got interesting places like Chipperfield Circus, Sarratt and Bovingdon, across the back country lanes, very narrow, no pavements, difficult to pass two cars together going up that way, and again quite hilly, the foothills of the Chilterns going up the back way up there. I don't think I would want to walk it because you've got the continual stress of cars coming around corners with no pavement for you to hop up onto out of their way. So there are footpaths around a lot in England and places that walkers can go, but they tend not to coincide with the actual country lanes that cars use very much. And also I don't know really where all of them are. You can buy ordnance survey maps that are supposed to show them, but the ordnance survey maps, first of all, they're rather expensive, and they cross over at Hemel Hempstead, so that in order to get a full view you'd actually have to buy 4 different maps to get an all-round view of what's going on around Hemel Hempstead. It's a little unfortunate. Some places can sort of right bang in the middle of the ordnance survey map that covers them, and they get much better value for money. But it's just bad luck. How's that for a lovely old shop facade? That's really nice, isn't it? Look at the old font on there. That's really very nice, isn't it? Tobacconist. It almost makes you want to go and start smoking horrible cigarettes. Tobacconist and confectioner. Montague, stationer and bookseller. It's quite attractive, really. Maybe I'll go on that side of the road. It could be a better deal than walking down this side. Especially as there's a lot of sun that way. I might get better shade this way. How about that? News agents, tobacconist and books confectioner. It's a lovely bow window that you can see. Rather too much by way of fireworks for sale here, but then people. Isn't that interesting the way that they've got here? Would you have ever expected that a little village in England would sell Izviestia? This looks like, Gazeta Wyborcza. Something about the NBP, the National Bank of Poland, going to the euro. You've got the Irish Times, you've got Irish Independent, you've got Western something. I don't want to pull them all out and look at them. You've got the Daily Record, which I think is Scotland's magazine, or newspaper. Corriere della Sera, which is one of the biggest Italian mags. La Gazzetta dello Sport, which is another one of them. La Repubblica, there's a lot of Italian ones. And you've got El Mundo, which is the Spanish one. So they got the whole lot. Really, it's very impressive. But it's yesterday's papers. Martes is Tuesday. It's Wednesday today. So most of them are yesterday's papers. Izvestia here from Poniedzielnik 10 Ноября, which is Monday the 10th of November. But still, to actually be here, a Russian newspaper, I can tell you, when I was a kid, never had anything like that anywhere near Hemel Hempstead. And I was learning Russian on my own, and I'd have leapt at the chance to get something like that. And these are the English ones. Daily Mail, Financial Times, Telegraph, The Times, The Independent. Independent talking about the domino effect. Of how the recession works, how it kicks onto everybody. The Express says Brown will put up taxes, and the Daily Mirror says that Diana was sick for a week with laryngitis, so how could she scream at fireworks? They've got some expose of this lady called Diana, who managed to get a free pass at last week's X Factor by having laryngitis, and they've been following her around with their own personal paparazzis, exposing her for screaming at fireworks. Now, I don't know. First of all, how dare they put something like that on the front cover of a newspaper when we have much more important things to talk about? How Obama's faring in his first few days after his election victory. You know, how the economy's faring up to the troubled times. Heard even today something about General Motors being in difficulties. So, tell me, how is it a good idea, with all of these things going on, to put on your front page of your newspaper something about a girl having laryngitis, and then screaming at fireworks, therefore she shouldn't have been allowed the free pass at the X Factor or something like that? I mean, it's kind of stupid, isn't it? If somebody wants to celebrate the blowing up of the Houses of Parliament, seems to me that they're at liberty to do so, you know. Nobody was there with a decibel counter seeing whether she actually screamed or not, or whether she just looked as though she was having fun. But no doubt they'll all start to investigate it, so they can have their little investigation and decide whether it was right for her to be in or out. And probably what will happen is she'll sing next week, and they'll probably all vote her off because the Express said that she was a fraud or something like that, and she'll get voted off next week for that, for having sung at the fireworks or screamed at the fireworks when she was supposed to be ill in bed with a poultice on her head. There's a nice traditional pet shop on that side of the road with a pet products delivery there. Hello, hello to you too. Doolittle's Pets, the pet shop with rabbit hutches and things outside of it. Maybe there's rabbits inside as well, I don't know, can't be bothered to go looking actually. It's nice, isn't it? It's a nice looking town centre. There's another barber here in rather an old looking barny kind of arrangement with a bit of wood. Oh, it's an interesting door, isn't it? Have a look at the prices available. There's a bakery, that's the kind of cakes you get in an English bakery. Eclairs, as I think they're called, iced donuts. I don't know what that thing is, macaroons is it? And there's your traditional gingerbread man. They look happy. They can't tell it's a recession, so they look happy. Little bit of bunting there, sort of fluttering half-heartedly in the breeze. From it didn't get cleaned off on some happy village occasion. And there's a single sort of traditional kind of plane flying around up there with probably a person inside it. A ruddy great cement mixer. Everybody's having fun. So there's a look back into the village. I don't know if you can see much because I don't think it reacts well to changes in light, but it's good in low light, but I don't think it's so good if you get any glare on it. But that's basically King's Langley for you. It's another small parade of slightly more post-war shops up here. You've got the club here, King's Langley. There's the Ladbrokes, there's a laundrette, fish and chip shop. Langley Fish Bar. There's Claire James's Health Foods. She's got a good surname, she has, and I don't suppose she's any relation. People who are called James aren't necessarily related to each other, as it used to be somebody's first name. And in various times, especially during the history of Wales, but also not only Wales, other places too, people were told, you have to take a surname. It's no good just calling yourself, you know, Hugh, the son of James, this, that and the other, and then he becomes, you know, your son becomes Stephen, the son of Hugh, or whatever. You got to stick yourself a surname, and it's going to be good forever, you know, for your whole family as you go down, like everybody else does. So the people that were caught by that simply decided that, or some of them did, some of them picked a different surname from what they did for a living, but some people simply took their father's name because they'd been using it as a patronymic and turned it into their surname. And people tended to do this regardless of whereabouts they were. It's just one of the options available, so people took it. And so people whose names are to do with either their occupation, like Smith and Cooper, things like that, or whose names are to do with, you know, are obviously ex-patronymic names, they're not necessarily related to each other. Whereas people whose surnames are very strange, possibly relating to unique place names, or who are just simply, you know, unusual, odd surnames that you don't see very often, those people are more likely to be related to one another. So sometimes people say, am I any relationship to the other David James, who's the famous Portsmouth goalkeeper? And I say, yes, he's my brother. Which in a sense, of course, he is. We all came from Adam, didn't we? In fact, we all came from Noah. So he is, in a sense, but not a great deal closer than that necessarily. How's that for copper coloured? That's a copper beach if ever I saw one. Isn't that nice? Beautiful, that one. Great colour on that. Well, that's quite a lot of glare on that advert, but it says you can't smell a city from a coach. I think you can read that. And it's upgrade to British Airways. Here we have Apsley Hemel Hempstead, by the way. We're just coming into Apsley. That's Apsley Grange. Apsley Grange back there. There's Herts County Council's building on that side. Apsley is another one of those places. Apsley is another one of those places where they can't really work out whether they're in Hemel Hempstead or not. So they've put the sign there to make it easy for them, because people from Apsley like to say, I'm from Apsley Village and not from Hemel Hempstead. But actually it's officially within Hemel Hempstead now, unlike King's Langley. It's a matter of time before we take them over, of course. And yeah, just thinking about that advert a second ago, you can't smell a city from a coach, so upgrade to British Airways. Obviously you can smell a city from one of their aeroplanes here. We're just going over Berlin. I think you'll probably be able to if you just sniff a little bit, you'll be able to smell the freshly baked Kuchen coming out of Café Kranzler down there. And now we're just coming over Poznan, and yes, you can hear that. You can just smell that lovely restaurant in the Old Town Hall there. It's nonsense, isn't it? You can't smell a city from a coach, so upgrade to British Airways. What does that actually mean? It's nonsense. How can you get a closer experience of the place you're touring to by flying there than by going there in a coach? I don't get it. I seriously don't get it. And it's like you never get a coach stop to get out and go to the toilet. Of course you do. You stop at the coach a lot more often than you stop the plane, that's for sure. And you don't have to wait 2 hours before getting on, or get a strip search in order to get on there, you know. So smelling cities is, if British Airways has got down to having to smell cities in order to sort of pitch its marketing to people, I think it's pretty much reached desperation. That's all I can say about that. Here we have Apsley Station, British Rail, tucked in behind there. You have to go up some back road to get to it, but it has quite a few trains stopping there. Not all of them, but quite a few, quite enough. And it's not far on to Hemel Hempstead Station from here. So those that don't stop at Apsley but stop at Hemel Hempstead are still quite accessible to people living in these homes here and offices. Here's a Express Holiday Inn, which is a nice chain. I have quite a high tolerance for the Holiday Inn chain, you know, because had some good times with them in the States. If you look at the United States videos, they were very good over there, and so I've never tried them here, but I assume that they're much of a muchness. If you look at the clock on that side of the road, you might wonder why it's got letters instead of numbers on it. I'll see if I can get any closer to it in a second so that you can see it exactly what it says, because it's worth looking at actually. It'd be a pity not to focus in on it since I'm here. It's a historical artifact, that clock, with showing some of the history of this particular region. Unfortunately gone not to return, because as you know, paper doesn't get made in Britain anymore, it gets made in China mainly. But here we can focus in on it nicely. Do you see now what those letters say? If you start with the 9 o'clock position and read round clockwise, you get Basildon. And if you start at the 8 o'clock position and read counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, you get Bond. So this was the place where they made Basildon Bond paper. Basildon Bond was also Russ Abbott's spoof spy character. The name's Bond, Basildon Bond. Same from the other side, wrought iron casing on this interesting building, part of the old paper mill, now incorporated into a residential development, which has made an awful lot more pleasant use of the canal than the ex-industrial site that was there when I was a boy, because they were already not making it then, so it was basically disused, and what they've done with it, turning it into pleasant canal side dwellings, is a great improvement. And then on top of that you've got the commercial use of the land for home bases and things like that. There's a Sainsbury's not far up here as well, so it's used for people's commercial needs in the area. Well, it's rather that, isn't it? It doesn't look too prepossessing, but it's rather that than having a disused industrial site that used to make paper and now doesn't do anything, so that's fair enough. I'm not going to criticise Sainsbury's and Homebase for doing that kind of development. That's what we need. So it's not as pretty as the canal side residential development, but it's something. And Apsley is a well-to-do community, both, you know, well served with jobs and with services. And now that the thank you for that. Well served with nutcases with two loud vehicles as well. But and there's, if you see the trains go through there. So if you put it all together, it can be quite a noisy place actually. But other than that, it's quite it's not the sort of place you'd call kind of peaceful. Even though it's got a country feel to it, it's not a very peaceful place. But yeah, it's peaceful in terms of. I'm not suggesting there's a lot of violent crime or anything like that goes on, but it's certainly got a lot of transport. But it was worse, because there used to be a lot of traffic on this road and queues and everything until they did the bypass, A414 bypass, which is or is that, sorry, A41 bypass I should say. There goes the train. Wasn't that loud actually? Which is behind that hill. So it's however much traffic and however much noise you might think there is here, it's not as much as there would have been and used to be. So, you know, things are going up, things are moving up. It was always a nice place to live, and look at that for a property. Look at that for a nice looking house there, an old historical one, with its double chimney there. It's quite pretty, isn't it? I'm sure that must cost a pretty packet. An older stone church there, and here's the Sainsbury's development that we're just coming up to now. So you've got a Curry's is in there, which I don't necessarily recommend. You've got an Argos, which is a catalogue store. That's an Argos Extra, which is a little bit bigger than your standard Argos. And you've got a petrol station for Sainsbury's there, and you've got the main Sainsbury's shop on the far side there, and this church up there. This roundabout and the things around it weren't here when I was a child and used to cycle down here. It was just a straight run through. So there we have it. Called Apsley Mill, still because of the old paper mills that used to be here, so there's not an awful lot of sign of the paper industry here, other than paper recycling now in the recycling centre. That's the only hint of paper industry that is here now, and of course you've got recycling centres outside every single shopping district in England, and so there's nothing special about that. But this was all given over to the production of paper historically for, well, I don't like to say decades. I think it was for for longer than just decades. I'm not sure it's for a whole 100 years that they made it, but certainly for a long period of time that this terrain was given over completely to the production of paper. And what was quite interesting is that in the old days they used to have a hot water outlet from the paper factory, and some people let loose some tropical fish into it, and in the last remaining paper mill that was here, some tropical catfish were fished out of the canal and made the local paper when I was a very small child. So it's something I can remember from the end of the paper industry in Apsley. Now it's all commercial, but also some luxury residential to balance it out. And that's a good use. I mean, that's a good use of the canal. I think that people like living near water, especially in the UK. We don't really have much by way of mosquitoes, so it's quite pleasant to live over water. There's the Oddfellows Arms, which has recently closed but is now reopened, and according to the local paper, it's a place where Alexandra Burke, who's one of the contestants now in the final stretches of this year's X Factor, one of the hot favourites to win actually, very good performer, has done live shows or sang live here on a few occasions. So if you want to see Alexandra Burke live in the future, you might want to keep tabs on what's going on in there, because the chances are that she might be back there again one day. And look at this poor fellow. Somebody's put a little blanket round him to keep him warm, but I think it's the end of him. He's obviously got knocked down by a car. Somebody's obviously taken him out of the road in the hope that it will help matters, but you know, the flies are already on him, so he's on his way out. He'll probably get taken off by somebody and put in a, you know, what the vets do with the dead dogs, they have to burn them. So they'll probably get taken away. But that's a fox, as you can see, obviously been knocked by a car or something and then taken off the road by somebody in a towel, and the towel's been left as his burial shroud, which was a kind thought, to give this baby's towel to this fox as his burial shroud. That was obviously that you can't say that England has no animal lovers when things like that happen. So poor old Foxy Loxy, he's a victim of modern technology. And this is called London Road, and you've got London Road Dental Practice and the Hemel. Thank goodness somebody's using the term, even in Apsley, chiropractic clinic, in quite oldish houses over there. This is the same road and the same architecture, as if you like, that leads through Berkhamsted as well. So it's got Apsley has a kind of Berkhamstedish feeling about it. It's all from the same period. And obviously Berkhamsted has a castle which was used temporarily by William of Normandy, and therefore it's not exactly on the same level maybe as Apsley, but most of the high street of Berkhamsted and the high street here in Apsley look very similar, if you like. So London Road, and here we've got a nice old fish and chip shop with a kebab meat incorporated into the mix, so you can get your traditional stuff and your more modern stuff all in the same place. I think it's probably a happy fusion. I mean, at least we don't have to say that the fish and chip shop is dead, because it's still there. It's just had kebabs added to it, which is all right. Sometimes they add Chinese food to the mix as well, which is all right, as long as we can get the fish and chips. We don't care what else is in there, as long as we can get our fish and chips. That's the main thing. Doesn't bother me if people have. I like kebabs. I like eating lamb kebabs, and I even put the lamb mint sauce on them sometimes to make them a bit more British. But it's all right by me to have kebabs in a fish and chip shop. Doesn't bother me what else they put in, as long as they've got their pies there, they've got the fish and chips there, Savoy. So it looks like Atwood Aquatics is really closed now. Atwood was Aquatics. I was one of the early customers of that And when it first set up, I had a fish tank. I bought a tank from them that I've still got. It's still there in my home over in Poland. Actually bought it in here, and it looks like it's just closed down due to redevelopment. And I can imagine that, because it looks like those three things there do look rather old and could do with probably being replaced by something which uses the land a little bit more effectively. So what have we got? We've got land acquired by Buxton Country Homes, further land acquired. So they're going to put a... Now that's not how you spell redevelopment, Atwood. So you don't need an extra E up between the P and the M. But yeah, they got it right on the Buxton one. So basically that gents barbers and the Atwood aquatics are going, and more homes are coming. So here we have an old church building which possibly has been turned into some kind of community hall. Yes, absolutely community centre. So it's not a church now, but it was evidently, from the architecture, you could say it was built for worship purposes in the beginning, but it's just simply, with the secularisation of society, become not needed for that, unfortunately. So instead it's become a community centre. And we've got a nice old terrace here with very, well, you'd call that Victorian, I think, architecture, wouldn't you? And in fact there is a plaque up there. It's called 195 to 211 London Road, but the plaque says it's called East View. Would that be correct? Yes, it would be. Looking over the east, looking out towards the east, in 1895. So I think I've had it on the button when I said Victorian architecture, Victorian terrace. Still, you know, you can really, it's redolent of that period, and even the arch there with the thin thing running through there, the middle. That's very. And I used to see a lot of things like that when I was a kid in the north. It's very atmospheric, actually, even. So that's pretty old. As Hemel Hempstead goes, that's among one of the older pieces. Anything pre-war in Hemel Hempstead is one of the older parts of Hemel, because most of the new town development went on in the 50s. Oh, here we are. We've got a shop with stamps, coins and gifts. So here's things for looking, magnifying glasses for looking at things. Hobbyist shops. It's got you've got your coins. I see that the word for yuan in Chinese is also the same as they use for yens in Japanese. So that 1,000 there, the 1,000 yuan, the Chinese symbol would be the same. You can't tell from the Chinese whether they're saying 1,000 yuan or 1,000 yen, whether it's Chinese or Japanese. It all means the same. The same little thing. Looks a little bit like, well, I don't know what you could describe it to in non-Chinese symbol terms, but it's basically a four-stroke character of a rectangular shape with two side bits hanging down and a bit in the middle coming down. But how to ever describe a Chinese letter to people that don't know about Chinese letters, or a Chinese symbol to people that don't know Chinese symbols, you just can't describe them, really. You know, it's not like the alphabet where you can go A, B, C. You either know it or you don't. That's uncompromising with them. One of the old English pillar boxes, as I think I mentioned before, devised by Trollope, the novelist. Next collection's on Wednesday at 6:30 PM by the looks of things. So there we are, one a day from there. That's an old barony sort of thing, old pub thing that's been transferred into a McDonald's. So it's very, I don't know, mock Tudor, or maybe not even mock Tudor. And here we have, this is not the canal, this is the River Gade, with the River Bulbourne joining it. This is two waters, of course. It doesn't join together here. It joins together just up there a little bit. But we'll, at the moment, it's the Gade. The Bulbourne joins it just in that piece of ground over there. The Bullbourne probably used to join it here, but they had to redo it for the road. But judging by the lie of the land, I'd say it was a fair bet that the Bullbourne used to join the gate right where I'm walking now. There's some mallards in there. No, they don't respond to that. They've heard it all before. This was the old Two Waters Road, but then they closed this down, or turned it into a, if you like, a, what's the word, a cul-de-sac, and made the main Two Waters Road go up to the bypass up there. So that all happened after I left school, just while I was at university. I think that was going on. So you've got the gate coming here. An old bridge. So you've got the gate cutting under there, flowing downwards towards London. Well, it goes towards Rickmansworth. It joins the Colne when it gets to Rickmansworth, and the Colne then takes it down to further. I should think the Colne then loads into the Thames after that. Around about where all those reservoirs are, near Heathrow Airport. You've probably seen them if you fly into Britain many times. You've probably seen them come through from the plane. So you've got the already combined Bullbourne and Gade coming through there, picking up a bit of speed at that point where it's been narrowed. Sorry. Sorry? No, I don't. I don't work for the government actually. I work for. No, I work for a firm of chartered accountants. I just film for YouTube.
Oh, right.
Just for fun, so people can see what my town looks like.
Well, it's a shame to say that they could pick the council could pick the leaves up with bits and pieces around here, couldn't they?
Well, they could do a lot of things. They could like not close the hospital. That would be helpful,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
Certainly would,
Yeah.
Post offices, everything we need they close, and everything we don't want they put up.
Yeah, they close all the post offices, and then they have some ruddy actress pretending to advocate old people's rights when old people just all they want is a post office they can go to.
Yeah.
So.
It's like my wife works for Lloyd's Bank. She only had a pay rise in about 4 years. She's putting everything up, and they
disgraceful.
wonder why folks get the own.
Well, that's right, but we've put up with it, and that's where we've got it, because we put up with it.
Yeah, exactly.
People are left with no choice.
Yeah.
They get themselves in debt, and the government wanted us all to get into debt so that we wouldn't be able to do anything about it when the time came. We don't want to lose what we've got.
Take all their houses back off us.
Exactly, that's what they do. That's what they do. So they got us all. They got all into debt.
All that money.
Yeah.
You know what really pees me off?
Yeah.
Why do we have? Why? I mean, my wife and I. Why do we have these people that use our money to make money? You know what I mean? What are they called? Stockbrokers.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
Why do we have stockbrokers?
Because people will use them.
How do you make money from a stockbroker? Because as far as I can see, everyone loses money.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't put money in for a stockbroker.
Well, it's the same with any kind of gambling, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, why buy a lottery ticket? Yeah, you only stand mathematically and you stand to lose, don't you? Oh, that's right.
If you went on the other thing, you could lose a lot for your house and everything.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But either way, you know that you're never going to get back as much as everybody's put in. There's always somebody making money out of it that they keep.
But at the end of the day, no matter what people say, no disrespect.
Yeah.
I can't understand why people do it. I mean, they lost. Look at this.
People are collectively very stupid.
It's all because of them.
Yeah.
But they made the money and spent it, haven't they? You can't
They
get
have.
it back off them.
Well, you can't. It'd be nice to try though.
It's like
Just to put the wind up them a bit.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be? Yeah, say no, sorry, we want the money back.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, we done a deal.
And from the politicians as well.
Money off of us back,
well, that's right. And but nobody ever takes it off a politician or off a bank or anything like that, or off a lawyer. They never take it off a lawyer. They don't take it back off a doctor. Anyway, all the best, mate.
And you.
Nice talking. Cheers. What a nice man. A very nice man. That's that's the salt of the earth. That is. That's what this town is made from. People like that. Just have a chat with a stranger. To spend the time of day a bit having a chat. It's nice. I hope he enjoys his footage. So we're at the place where it actually meets. I was having a chat with that friendly guy down there, and as you saw, the river went underneath there. You can still see it moving along there. And it's moving along there. This is not the canal. The canal is actually on this side of me. The canal is there. The river's moving along there. And the gate actually crosses the canal in order to get to that point, which means it mingles with the water of the canal, effectively. So you've got the gate falling into the canal and coming back out of the canal again. Here we see the point. This is Two Waters Road, aptly named, and this is the Two Waters area. And here you can see that's the canal going through there, okay? You can see the gate falling into the canal here and coming back out of it there, and joining the Bullbourne, which is coming down there. So that's how it effectively works. Effectively the gate the water from the gate effectively joins the canal and moves downhill along the canal, really, feeding off at parts into the new gate over there. But before it even gets to that lock there, the old gate, the old river gate, has been taken off down there to meet the Bullbourne. So the gate effectively is pretty much broken at that point, and different water is added to the gate further down than the water which is in the gate at the top. So if you were to, for example, place rainbow trout or something like that in the gate at this point, you wouldn't necessarily see it in the gate further down, although there are ways in which it can get through to the gate from the canal further down. But you'd certainly be have them going into the canal where they probably wouldn't find conditions much to their liking. More likely is that they would go up the gate upstream through the if you placed them here, they'd probably go upstream towards the more countrified parts of the gate, up towards more in the direction of Leighton Buzzard up there. So here you are, you've got the symbol of the two-way roundabout. As it shows you, it's got things working in all directions now. And our last view, finishing off this series. Thank you for your attention throughout the Hemel Hempstead series, or the Hearts Content series. There have been 3 series all this year, and all my time spent in England in 2008 is in those 3 series, all called Uncle Davy's Hearts Content, which is obviously a pun. And like I say, in the new year, if I do think something in 2009, or anything, any visits to Hemel Hempstead or to Britain, then I'll probably call them something else. But just to keep it nicely rounded off, we'll say goodbye here at the two-way roundabout in Hemel Hempstead, with the Gade, the River Gade, going through the middle of it. So thank you again, and see you next time on another series here on the Usenet Posts channel on YouTube. Thank you.